Welcome back to this Real America's Voice news break. I'm Terrence Bates. The country continues to mourn the deadly shooting at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis. An 8-year-old and a 10-year-old are dead, while 14 other kids, along with 3 senior citizens, are hurt. Minneapolis' police chief says the injured are expected to survive. Late Wednesday, hundreds crowded into a nearby church for a vigil. Hundreds more mourned outside while the region's archbishop tried to comfort them. In the meantime, the shock of this heinous attack is shifting now to anger.
These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance. These are the sort of basic assurances that every family should have, every step of the day, regardless of where they are in our country.
To that end, President Trump says he has been fully briefed on the shooting and will continue to monitor the situation. He also ordered the U.S. flag to be flown at half-staff across the country for the rest of this month. You can see the White House here and the flag at half-staff. 47 continues to cement himself as the law and order president, with Wednesday's attack coming as he and Republican leaders on Capitol Hill craft a comprehensive crime bill. As for this latest shooting that has the entire country shaking its collective head, we now know the cowardly 23-year-old transgender shooter fired dozens of deadly shots from outside the church through the windows during morning mass. American-born Pope Leo XIV sending his condolences this morning, saying that he is praying for the relatives of the dead. And while the Trump administration has one eye on Minneapolis, the other is shifting to Wisconsin today. Vice President J.D. Vance will be in the Cheese State in order to promote President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. The two leaders met at the White House for lunch on Wednesday in preparation for the vice president's trip today. That's a quick check of your headlines. I'm Terrence Bates.
Working radio show in the business, the Charlie Kirk Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Email us, as always, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. That's the Charlie Kirk Show podcast page. We have a couple of videos going quite viral right now on TikTok. That's TikTokeconomicimpact.com. Let's play cut 17 very quickly. That was my speech.
In Britain today, 30 people a day are arrested for offensive posts on social media, according to The Telegraph. Praying silently within 600 feet of an abortion clinic can get you arrested in Scotland, as a 74-year-old woman named Rose just learned weeks ago. Members of Parliament scold British citizens for thinking they have the right to say things, say that they do not have the right to say things that offend Muslims.
You can check out that full speech at TikTokeconomicimpact.com. That's TikTokeconomicimpact.com. Joining us now is Dr. Larry Arnn, the president of Hillsdale College. You guys can take all the courses at Hillsdale College for free at charlieforhillsdale.com. That is charlieforhillsdale.com. Dr. Arnn, great to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time. Dr. Arnn, I want to ask you an open-ended question, and we have time to explore this together. And you are a great teacher of mine and a mentor of mine. But it's a question that has been raging all throughout the internet. The question is, what is an American? Dr. Arnn, what is an American?
Well, first of all, an American is a wonderful and unique thing because our country is wonderful and unique. And there are two things that make it so. One is it started with some principles that had never been adopted before. They claim to be eternal principles. And they claim to establish that we have a nature, that we are created, that we have rights under that nature, and that we all have them, kings and commoners alike. And that had never happened before. Those principles, by the way, are unthinkable in the ancient world, and what intervened to change that, make them necessary, was the birth of Jesus Christ. Because now you're going to have a Savior for everybody on earth, but you have to come to him voluntarily. And so many people who came to this country came to escape religious persecution, and they figured out how not to do that. So that's the first thing, something unprecedented, something eternal, but never adopted before. The second thing is our experience on this land. The founders were very taken with the continent. Not until Lewis and Clark in the first decade of the 19th century did they know how big the continent was, have any direct report of it. But they knew it was big, and they knew they could carve a life out for it. So Americans are the greatest builders on Earth. And, Elon Musk and Palmer Luckey and Alex Karp are lately, I think, the pillar of American national defense, because they're builders. They just do it on their own, and they think it up, and they do it. And so it's the experience we have. We brought everything from Europe when we came over, knowledge, books. We didn't bring the aristocracy. And we got a new land, and we got to settle it. And we're still like that, I think. And that's what politics is about today, by the way. Are we like that, or are we past that now? Are we going to adopt the old way, which is some aristocracy telling us how to live our lives? And that's what the political fights are about today. But America is, Thomas Jefferson and Abraham Lincoln both called it the last best hope of mankind on earth. And it is still that today.
So Dr. Arnn, allow me to ask a little bit more of a boundary-pushing question. Let's just take a kid right now in Beijing. He has a U.S. passport because his mom flew over when she was 8 months pregnant, landed in San Francisco, and was born in a San Francisco hospital. He got a citizenship certificate, and then his mom flew back to Beijing, and he is being raised in China. He is a U.S. citizen, even though he's never been raised here, doesn't go to our schools, doesn't know the national anthem, but because his mom came here and he is basically an anchor baby, is this kid in China, is he an American just because he has his paperwork?
No. And there's the source of that confusion comes from a common law tradition, the English common law, which grew up over a very long time, under the institution of kingship. And that argument was, if you're born on the king's territory, you're a subject of the king. So you're not a citizen, you're a subject. And so if you're born there, he claims you. America is something different. America is government by consent. And so America requires a set of practices and beliefs. In principle, they make every one of us a ruler of the country. But we have to be dutiful in that. We have to qualify ourselves for that. We have to learn what that is and requires. So the idea of automatic citizenship in America is a corruption which has an older root in a different kind of nation or regime, and which has modern liberalism behind it, because what it wants to do is destroy all the national boundaries. And if you do that, by the way, it's just a logical fact, you destroy the consent of the governed. To have consent of the governed, you have to have a people. And if the government gets to say who the people are, and if it's anybody who by any accident, including birth here, can claim some connection to the country and they can make them a citizen because of that, then all of a sudden the government is in control of who the people are. And then the people are not in a position to give their consent.
So Dr. Arnn, as we bring newcomers to this country, immigrants, of which we've brought way too many in the last couple of years, what should our expectations be of newcomers? What should we expect? What should their obligations and their duties be to then become an American? I feel as if we have no expectations for newcomers. In fact, we have the opposite. They have entitlement when many of them come here. The question I suppose I have is, what should the agreed upon ideal criteria be of when someone is able to prove that they become an American citizen or an American part of this incredible republic?
The principles and practices for that are in place right now. They're just ignored. The way you get naturalized, that's an interesting word, by the way. That word nature comes from the Latin word for birth. And to be naturalized is to be to be, you're made to have born here now, like that. If you become a citizen, well, how do you do it? You got to work for a time, years. You have to obey the law, and you have to pass a test. And the test is about what the country is, how it's governed, how it works. And so that, in principle, anybody can do that. Any race, any place, anybody. Now, in practice, because we have the right to consent to our government, we have the right and the duty to decide how many, right? Wide open is one choice. We've made that at various times in our past, never continuously. And then more restricted is a choice. But whether wide open or more restricted, the way to become a citizen is to adopt the practices and beliefs of America and demonstrate that. There are some good bills that have been in the Congress lately, didn't pass. Who knows what Donald Trump will get done, because whatever it is, if he decides to do it, he might get it done. But there should be tests, right? One of the bills, I think Senator Cotton and some others were behind it. It says clean record, speak the language, work, not be so old that you can't contribute. Senator Cotton said to me one time, "You're too old, you wouldn't get in." I said, "It's okay, I'm already in." And then pass the test, learn, show that you know. And then, oh, by the way, there's a loyalty oath. And so that's what's being ignored, right? We're ignoring two things. One is the right of the people in the interest of the country that they govern to decide how many is the right number. And of course we have that right. If you read the Declaration of Independence, in the middle there are these charges against the king. And one of them is the king had made everybody mad because he gave a new constitution to Quebec, and which was not part of the original 13 colonies. And apparently they put up with it. He gave them a constitution he liked better. And then he expanded its borders southwards. And that made everybody mad, right? Because he's taken our territory and he's setting it up to govern the way he wants, not the way the people who live on it want. So yeah, you can't do that. That's an abnegation of the principles of the nation. And I want to repeat, it's the interplay of the principles of the nation and this experience we have of settling this continent. And think about that experience, right? The kind of government we set up in the Declaration of Independence and Constitution is simply unprecedented. And what we did through many trials was we extended that way of government all the way across the continent. In the beginning, not knowing how big the continent was. In the beginning, naming the army that won the Revolutionary War the Continental Army. And all of the new places came in with the same rights and the same representation as the original 13. Now, that's an amazingly generous act and a service to the principle of equality that was fabulous. But you can only serve those principles if you live the life to serve those principles, because they carry the duties of citizenship with them.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And I'm in favor right now of an immigration moratorium. I've said that. We've had a very big meal. It's time to digest that meal. And we've had a huge influx of people coming into America. Dr. Arnn, we have a minute here, and then I really want to spend time on how things are going at the college, because it is America's greatest college. But let me just ask one final question here in just a minute response. What would you say is lacking from the dialogue on the discussion of what is an American and immigration, and what are some of the pitfalls that we as conservatives should avoid? Because you've been around these debates multiple times for the last couple of decades on the American right.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have to understand, first of all, you and I get on well with the Trump administration, and he loves the country. And he wants to have a big celebration of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. The final cause of America is stated in that beautiful document. We should understand that document. We should understand that it is, as Lincoln called it, the father of all moral principle in us. It's the reason we can be Americans. we should also understand our unique experience and what it calls us to do today, which is to govern this country in freedom, to make it strong, and to be a light, but not a ruler of the world. And all of that, that's the founding fathers talking there. That's exactly how they thought. And we're having a public, America is going through a major political trauma, right? Are we going to be governed bureaucratically as spread all over the world? Or are we going to be governed as free people? That's what the fight's about. And if we understand what it is to be governed as a free people and live as a free people, we can preserve that. And only we are in a position to do that.
Dr. Larry Arnn, stay there, please. America's Greatest College. Check out charlieforhillsdale.com. That's CHARLIE for Hillsdale.com. You could take the Aristotle course like I have several times, the Constitution 101 course, the American Founding course, the Roman History course, charlieforhillsdale.com. Email us, everybody, freedom@charliekirk.com. More with Dr. Larry Arnn from America's Greatest College, Hillsdale College, in just a second.